live from Northwest Arkansas. It is episode 22 of Psyko'sPlatters. How is everybody out there today? I hope everybody, I trust, is having themselves a decent Monday. Anywho, fueled by coffee as usual. Not yet sponsored by Waffle House, but I really wish they would get in the game. Let's get you in the game early on the lowdown here. Okay, Waffle House and everybody else? You don't realize a future national hidden treasure you have in Psyko'sPlatters. I know, I can't even say that without laughing to myself. Okay. This one here, kind of a little bit different, just a little bit different. But it's going to go into a side discussion. You know me, I take rides on the tangent train on music. But first, let's get started with a couple thrift store music-related finds that I picked up. This would have been about 2 weeks ago. Here is a magic lesson. If you've not done this before, start doing it, because you just never know what you're going to get on this. I'm flipping through some books, okay, and they have a special section for music books. Now, of course, what do I mean by music books? Chart tab books, things like that, sheet music, okay? You never know what you're going to find for $0.25 a piece in the music section. Yeah, look at this. This is the original 1970 sheet music for the Beatles' Let It Be, as it says, recorded by the Beatles on Apple Records. For $0.25. I don't know who dumped this, but I'm telling you, I'm going to get some sleeves for this stuff. I mean, it's in, with the slight exception of a slight bent corner. This is in, let's see, about near mint. About. And this one, yeah, the Beatles music souvenir book of the whole entire Rubber Soul album. Original, back from 1965. This thing's a little more brittle. I wish it wasn't. But like, here's an example, you know, of what it looks like on the inside. It says here, the Beatles souvenir music book, and it goes off and mentions it, and it also mentions McLennan Music Company, which was McCartney-Lennon. Okay, that was their little publishing company. Now, this thing here, I'm going to take assumption. You know, this is not an original pressing. I wish it was. But based on the inside of the cover here, the most recent thing is they also did one for Sgt. Pepper. Okay, and then it pretty much cuts off. So there's nothing, you know, so this thing here may not be obviously first pressing, but it's pretty damn close. Okay, it was made obviously no later than late '67. All right, so you guys out there, you know what some of my guilty pleasures are. What is Psycho? What has Paul talked about over the last 22 episodes? Monkeys, obviously. We did the episode last week, which, by the way, had some decent reviews. I did kindly send it to Peter Tork's Facebook website. They were very gladly received on that one. I would have sent it off to the others, but there wasn't any ports to do that. I know that there also was the first, I'm told, its first annual Davy Jones convention in New Jersey. I am told that that went well. Mickey and Peter were there, along with a bunch of other people. It was a convention of sorts, but I am also told that some of the money actually went to some of his various charities involving horses and children. So, I mean, to me, that's a win-win. If I was closer to New Jersey, I gladly would have went. I saw pictures, a bunch of pictures so far, really good stuff. So, I came across some hair metal. Yes, that's right. I came across a bunch of different hair metal here. Starting off with, okay, You're Rockin' with Dokken. Oh, yes. Breaking the Chains. All right. Dokken's first album. Now, it is a promo copy, and I'll show you in a second because it really is a promo copy. Back then, okay, this was put out in '83 on Elektra. Of course, you got Breaking the Chains. I love that song. Paris is Burning, which was recorded live in Berlin in '82. Your lineup, of course, Don Dokken, who I hate to admit this, he looks a little bit like he's trying to be Todd Rundgren. like an early '80s Todd Rundgren. Don't sue me, Dokken. I'm just telling the facts. George Lynch, okay, one of the best guitar players of the '80s. I don't care what anybody says. Here's the one for you, though. This is the only album that didn't have Jeff Pilson. Okay, the first album had who on bass? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. Juan Krauscher. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, that's because after this album, he went and helped to start Rat. Yeah, he was on all the classic recordings for Rat. And then lastly, Mick Brown, Mr. Hey, I'm going to get drunk and ride a golf cart. Really? The only boo-boo here, the guy stuck it in an Accept inner sleeve. Just balls to the wall, baby! But this isn't the right album. Jeez. But thank God on the inside it is. Beautiful, mint condition, white label, Elektra. Ha ha ha. Sweet. So Dokken, in case you haven't heard, there's been a big soap opera on them. Nobody wants to deal with Don. Don doesn't want to deal with George Lynch. That's basically what's been going down. So there's this other band called T&N. It originally was called Tooth and Nail, but there's a Christian label out of Chicago called Tooth and Nail, and that's the reason why they shortened it to T&N. Get the CD, Slave to the Empire, if you haven't got it. They do some new songs, these three do. Okay, Pilson, Brown, and Lynch, with guest vocalists. In fact, Sebastian Bach's on a track, too. Oh, okay. Whitesnake's Love Hunter. Come and Get It. Just woke up, kids, sorry. Promo copy on Mirage from 1981. This pretty much is one of the last. There's two different versions of Whitesnake, if you want to think about it, okay? The first version of Whitesnake is more blues-based, okay, because that's originally what it was. Coverdale, when after his solo career in 75, 76 went, yeah, that's when he jumped in and did this, okay, was blues-orientated Whitesnake. Your second version of Whitesnake basically pretty much started in late '82 with the infamous Slide It In album and continued on from there on in. This is one of the last ones, actually, to have the classic lineup. Now, who happens to be on Come and Get It here? David Coverdale, of course, duh. John Lord and Ian Pace. Now, where have we heard that from? That is your classic backing for Purple. And Coverdale, of course, was in there, too, from 74 on. So you have 3/5 of a lineup of Deep Purple, along with the triple M threat of Bernie Marsden, Mickey Moody, and Neil Murray. Some good stuff on here, kids. I'm telling you. Yes, like I said, Come and Get It. Lonely Days, Lonely Nights, Wine, Women, and Song. Bunch of them here. Really nice stuff. And like I said, on Mirage Atlantic. Okay, now, here's what I want to talk about really quick as well. Third album that I picked up. Didn't really even know this album existed on vinyl, okay? So pardon my ignorance. AC/DC's Blow Up Your Video. Okay? I kind of feel pretty sheepish about this because I've been collecting since 1979, okay? How did this pass me up? Because I love AC/DC. All right, I've got vinyl copies pretty much of just about everything that was on vinyl up until, oh geez, what was it? The Who Made Who album from '86. Remember when they did that film for Stephen King? Okay, that one was on vinyl. I remember that. Didn't know that this was put out on vinyl. This was in '88 on Atlantic. Of course, there's your back. Yep, they're frying it out, aren't they? Shortly after this tour, or excuse me, when this tour for Blow Up Your Video came out, Malcolm Young, he needed to take a physical mental break, so his cousin came and stood in. That was the tour. I'm going to tilt this a second. That's the tour that I almost ended up going on. I can't remember what happened. I still have yet to see AC/DC. And a quick little update, I'm not entirely sure if they made any more vinyl on that particular band since after Blow Up. Now, I know that, yes, they did make vinyl copies of Black Ice. I don't have it. They're too dang expensive for me. So, okay, here's some other things that I want to bring up. All right, pardon, I'm going to flip these a second while I'm talking to you. I went to a flea market-y stall, okay, and found all of these albums, and I gotta confess I couldn't believe what I found. These were on average, it came out to $2 a piece, okay. So let me start showing you right off the bat. These are hair metal bands that I have barely heard the names of these people, okay. So I haven't had a chance to listen to these yet. We start off with, oh yeah, sorry, all of these albums, what is the connection of these? They all were made from 1988 to 1990, okay? It's important in this conversation. I'll get to as why when we're done looking at them, okay? We start out with a band called Drive She Said. Now, I gotta confess, I have never heard of Drive She Said. This is from 1988. No. I am so sorry. I can barely read my own writing. 89, excuse me. And these guys were on the CBS Associated Records, which also at one point or another had Kansas, Slade, and Ozzy Osbourne. Now, these guys here was a duo, okay? They pretty much did their own little thing. I have never truly heard of these guys, but I found out they made 6 albums. This is the first one that they ever made, and it's Al Fritsch and Mark Mangold. Here's your two people, okay? Promo copy of this one from 1989. All right, this one here, Fifth Angel, Time Will Tell. This is on Epic Records, 1989. Promo stamped. This is the back of the sucker here, okay? I kind of like the front cover. It looks kind of cool. And, of course, look at the back cover here. They're all pretending to be, oh, geez, look at that. We're badass. And there's a curtain. Whatever, right? This one here, though, just straight stock copy. But all of these, by the way, in near mint to mint condition. These things are totally, totally beautiful. But like I said, this one on Epic Records, nobody really to mention here on that one. All right. I kind of had to crack up about the label. Here's one. The Brian McDonald Group. Who the hell's Brian McDonald? Even I couldn't figure this out. This was on Columbia. This was in '87, though, okay? Now, it says here, and I kind of like promo type stuff here. It says, I'm going to do this in my bad radio voice. BMG delivers classic hard rock, destined to become hard rock classics, featuring the hit single, Life is a Desperate Business. Well, yes, it is, considering that after this, I don't think they did anything else. There's a little back promo sticker explanation. This is also promo stamped as well. It said, the only thing I can figure out here is it says, back in '82, his band originally toured under the name of Dillinger. Okay, I tried to go Google, couldn't figure very much out of it, unfortunately, and none of the band members really came across on this one. as anything familiar. I mean, you got, there's this, everybody of course pretending to be badass. I gotta confess though, this guy here, I wish you could see this. He kind of almost looks like Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. he's got, maybe that was his side job, we didn't realize, and of course it's a straight Columbia stock copy, but still should be Booger McDonald Group. I'm kidding. Don't sue me, any members of Ryan McDonald Group. But so yeah, 1987 on this one. Okay. Now next, Sanctuary, Into the Black. I never heard of these guys either. 1990 on Epic. Okay. Nobody really familiar here on the back for there. That's kind of cool in its own self, right? This one here on Epic Records, it's got a promo punch hole on this one. Straight stock copy, Epic. Shark Island. Now, I barely heard these guys back in the 80s, okay? I want to say MTV actually did show a video of some sort of them. But other than that, no, I never really heard these guys either. On Epic Records, there's your back on this one too. Another straight stock Epic copy on this one too, but Shark Island. Originally, this band was called Sharks, and then they went to Shark Island. Okay, from 1989, CBS Records, Bo Nasty. Yes, Bo Nasty. Promo stamp, it's called Dirty But Well Dressed. Just like a lot of hookers, right? I know, I'm so bad. On the WTG Records label, okay, which was CBS connected. Now, I did try to take a look, like I said, at this lineup. The only thing that came up interesting was the executive producer was Beau Hill. Now, if you do not know who Beau Hill is, you will in a second. Beau Hill, pretty much when he produced a lot of bands in the 80s, when he got done, they touched gold. What do I mean by that? Try Europe, Rat, and Winger. Those were his main three. And let's face it, if you bought any of those albums in the 80s, it had Beau Hill's stamp all over it, okay? And I like all three of those bands. Rat and Winger more than Europe, but whatever. Now this one here, of course, this is kind of funny. It says produced by Paul Winger. Maybe that's his real name. Needless to say, 1989, Bo Nasty. River Dogs. Now, this one here, for once, I snagged it for one reason and one reason alone. Okay. This is on Epic Records, also 1990. It says CBS Associated. Doesn't say that on the record jacket, but got me there. So, why did Paul get this particular album? Because of what I read on the back here. You see, who plays guitar on here is none other than former Dio, Whitesnake. Okay. Oh dear God. I'm tired today. I'm sorry. Former Dio, Whitesnake. He was in a band with Mick Jones, not Mick Jones, and Lou Gramm too, in '92. Anyways, he's current Def Leppard guitarist Vivian Campbell. He also dabbled with Thin Lizzy too, a little while ago. So that one, I can't wait to listen to that. That could be pretty interesting. Vengeance, Take It or Leave It. Yeah, look at that. They're all pretending to be, oh yeah, with gluttony. And there's that guy who looks like he's going to serve you a mint after you go to the bathroom. Little bits of guitar parts. It says on the promo sticker, the U.S. debut of Vengeance, Take It or Leave It, 4 stars. I'll definitely take it. In fact, I haven't heard such a good time party album for eons. Not since Van Halen's Mighty Fine 1984. Quote UK Kerrang! Kerrang was a good magazine. Featuring, oh boy, featuring Rock and Roll Shower. I'm skeptical. I'm sorry, I'm skeptical. This is on CBS, 1988. These guys were Norwegians. They were Dutch. Holland. Okay. Last album out of the whole bunch. I gotta confess, I didn't know this album existed. Neil Schon solo album, 1989, promo stamped. Late Night is the name of the album, okay? Now, I'm going to bring this up for you here. First of all, of course, typical Columbia. It's who he's got on here on this album from '89. Because during that time frame, if I remember correctly, Bad English was still between first and second album, so how he managed to shove this in here is beyond me. And of course, Journey isn't back yet because he formed the band Hardline in '92 with his brother, if I remember correctly. So let's see, who do we got on here? Other than, of course, Neil himself. Omar Hakim. Omar Hakim, if I remember correctly, was a member of Todd Rundgren's Utopia at one point or another. Let's see. Randy Jackson. Yes, we're talking about that Randy Jackson. But on this particular song, Softly, you've got Randy Jackson, Steve Smith, and Sean. All right, which is kind of cool. So you sort of have a 85, 86 version of 3/5 of Journey on that particular one, okay? Once again, they're on a song called The Theme. There are 3/5 of them too. Let's see, actually 1, 2, they're on several songs, those guys. So you got Sean Jackson and Steve Smith. I like Steve Smith's drumming, I do. Let's see, who else? Okay, this one was kind of the oddest one of them all. I can't wait to listen to this. This is called Smoke of the Revolution, okay? This was written by Neil Schon and John Cain. All right. And you know John Cain, of course, at that time, well, was a former member of Journey and the Babies. So, you got Neil Schon, John Cain, Randy Jackson, Dean Castrovano, okay, who was where? Bad English. All right, so pretty much, once again, you kind of have a 3/5 Journey lineup, but you also have Randy Jackson thrown in, so it's kind of odd. With background vocals of Sheryl Crow and Randy Jackson. Now, let's see. If I remember correctly, Sheryl Crow didn't even get to be big until maybe about '91. Was that when Tuesday Night Music Club came out, I want to say? So this is 2 years before that. But yeah, so I mean, that's what you're looking at. So all over this place, this album is. There's the little inner sleeve too. So why am I talking about, you know, this particular batch? Because let's bring this up again, shall we? Collectability wise, you know, I always try to find hair metal bands that I've never heard before. That's just it for me, because you never know what sounds I'm gonna like. I was trying to go and start a hair metal show program, you know, on radio, but that kind of got shot in the dark here, because the station I was going to try to go work for is doing a soon-to-be nationally syndicated, I can't mention any more details, but there's at least going to be 20 markets with this new show coming up of, well, pretty much hair metal, heavy metal. It'll be really nice. I think I'm told it's going to be an overnight show. Thank God, we need something fresh around here. So, needless to say, I didn't get to do that. Vinyl, okay, starting in '88, was starting to get phased out. As I showed you, though, Epic, CBS Associated, Atlantic, Elektra, all pretty much kept cranking out albums till about 1990. And then they went, and that was the end. A lot of these hair metal band albums, I'm going to tell you right now, I did a little research, and it seems that a lot of them didn't get more than past than the original initial first pressing of 50,000 copies. Okay, so while in the price guide these things may be worthless or a couple bucks to some, realistically these things are rare. They're rare because they're on vinyl, that's why. And with 50,000 copies for a majority of these lesser known bands that came across, even though they landed on major labels, that's pretty damn collectible in my book. So I wanted to touch on very quickly, because I know it's 25 minutes into the video already, about dying formats and some questionable titles. Like I said, we know for the original Surgeons of Vinyl, 1990 was pretty much the cutoff. Like, okay, for example, one that kind of shocked me a little bit, the original Badlands album on Atlantic, didn't even know that existed. Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood, didn't know that was on vinyl, okay? Little things like that kind of surprised me. So I went backwards and I took a look at some of the dying formats. Reel-to-reel tapes, for example. How many of you at one point or another out there in the community have come across some reel-to-reel tapes? Yeah, okay, it's an old medium. But how many of you people out there have come across rock and roll reel-to-reel tapes? I bet you a handful of you have too. I found at one point or another a couple Beatles, some Simon and Garfunkel, some Motown. Really interesting stuff. There is a website called Reel to Reel Index, which will tell you actually 99% to the knowledge of the collectors and the company people that collected this information, that pretty much, and this amazed me because I thought that reel-to-reel tapes died in the late 70s. Well, I was really wrong, because Columbia House and BMG, Capitol Record Club, all those other people, the ones that were still active in 1978, a third of the titles that were offered were still being offered in reel-to-reel, okay? So, but they were harder to find. So if you've got anything from like post-1978 to, I am told the cutoff is 1984, okay? So if you find some reel-to-reels in those 6 years of any rock-related stuff, those are going to be harder. They're going to be rarer to find out in the marketplace. Hang on to them. It's really good stuff. Next one, 8 tracks. Yes, okay. I got to confess, I barely collect 8 tracks. Beatles and Kiss related are about all I will collect. If I find them, I will grab them. But there are things that you need to look out for if you're into that realm. They started pretty much 8 tracks around 1965 in the public marketplace. That one, of course, courtesy of RCA Victor, mixed with Ford Motor Company, was putting new systems in their cars that year. Everything kept going nice. In 1970, RCA put out quad 8 tracks. Now, I'm going to tell you, those are a lot more desirable than your regular 8 tracks. If you find any quad rock and roll 8 tracks, snag them, hang on to them, because believe it or not, they're actually going to be worth something. What? I don't know. I wish there would be an 8-track tape collector's guide out there, okay? 1984 was pretty much the cutoff in the regular general marketplace of 8-track tapes. Google, it went off and said 82, but I got to tell you, I want to say it was more towards 84, because I actually saw a lot of 83 releases back, well, when I used to hang around my record stores back then. Okay, so 84 was the cutoff, but Columbia House and BMG continued to make 8 tracks till late 1988. Now, some think that the last 8-track that was made was Fleetwood Mac's Greatest Hits. You remember that one with the green cover? They think that might have been the last 8-track that actually came off the assembly line. I would love to actually see a copy of this. My friend, Jim, back in the day, he still had an 8-track tape player, and I saw this, and I wish I could find one of these. There is 8-track tape copies of Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. They do exist. I've seen them, okay? I want one. If you're a Beatles fan, I also saw this. They did make 8-track tape copies of George Harrison's Cloud 9 album from '87, okay? So I'm going to tell you, like I said, your 84 to 88 stuff on 8-track, it's going to be a hell of a lot more harder to find. You find them, snag them, because they were made in reduced quantities. Cassettes, regular cassettes, not so much. Okay, cassettes were made a lot. But here's the thing most people don't know. They actually continue to make cassette tapes until about 2006. For example, I have a Beatles 1 album on cassette. I found this thing in a resale shop. I'm like, what? And I snagged it and grabbed it. Someday CDs are going to end up being a dying art form too, but I'm not looking forward to that. And if I remember correctly, April 20th, Vinyl Record Store Day. Oh, go snag. It looks like there's going to be a lot of good stuff this year. All right, I know once again I'm very lengthy. I'm sorry. So guess what? We're going to wind it down with my usual shout-outs. First one right off the bat, Wax Museum with Ronnie Dark. Oh, my God, you keep finding this stuff. You are teaching me sometimes, sir, and I like it. Because of him, I found out about a new band, well, an old band, called Stark Naked. How about that for a band? 1 album on RCA. He interviewed one of the guys just this past Sunday, and he's a touring comedian now, this guy is. Well, you just never know where you're going to go after rock and roll, right? So Wax Museum with Ronnie Dark, like him on Facebook, and listen to the show every Sunday night, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then the Night Owl Lounge with Mike Adams right after. Like both of those pages, please, please, please. I really would like to see him get 1,000 likes by Easter. Is that a little too much? Nah, let's go for 1,000 by Easter. That'd be sweet. Thrifty Music Collectors Group is another one on Facebook. Go like them. YouTube Vinyl Community page. There's over 1,000 members. Go on there and like them, please. AOR Magazine. Couldn't find it. I'd show you the cover. Boston. Yeah, that's right, is the head story. Oh, my God. There's a 12-page story on the history of this band up till late 2012. There's a few things even I didn't know about. But I still want to hear that unreleased 3rd album, Tom Schultz. Eventually, this thing better come out. Be really nice, I think, in my opinion. And it kind of broke down a little bit about Brad Delp's death, too. That kind of depressed me, that little part. Classic Rock Magazine, Jim Morrison of The Doors is on the cover. Hey, guess what? You can always learn new things, right? I didn't know Jim Morrison wrote 3 songs for Nico's Marble Index album on Elektra. Now you know too, right? Go to Classic Rock Magazine and find that out. Bob and Ron's Record Club. Oh, God, the shows you do. It's stellar out of Chicago, sir. I take my hat off to you if I had a hat. I salute you. And lastly, Crate Junkies. You just keep doing it, man. Everybody keeps doing it. Weavy Ray. Oh, man. You know, eventually I'm going to have an episode of just shout-outs. All right, until next week, guys, take care, God bless, and dig those vinyl. God bless and rock on, my friends. Rock on.